What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RotoGrinders pre-like show, hopefully, because you're hitting the like button before we even start. And my name is TJ Zwarych. We're going to be talking about two very fun games on today's slate with playoff implications in both of them. Do I kind of wish these games were on the main slate? Yeah, I do. But I'm still happy to be playing them on Saturday because it should be a lot of fun as well. Joining me to break them down, we got Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell. How you doing, Tim?
Well, we're going to start right off the bat with a disagreement. I like that they flex these games to Saturday. We can have all the fun with all the crap games tomorrow on a full slate, but I think it's kind of fun to have these games flex, the two really meaningful games here on a Saturday. I'm pretty excited that they did this. I think it was a good call by the NFL, and I like it from a DFS perspective. Let's have all the meaningful games today, and let's just play a crapshoot tomorrow. That's what I'm kind of excited for. Like I'm kind of excited to play like the no names tomorrow, to be honest with you. But I'm also I kind of like playing these two essentially they're playoff games. I mean, at least one of them is, but I mean they're both super meaningful games.
How dare you disagree with me, Tim? Unbelievable. The audacity. I actually don't disagree with anything you said. My only counterpoint is I want Jackson Smith and Jigba and Christian McCaffrey on the main slate. That's really all it is. There's so much value. I had two shows already on it with the Blitz and Tournament Takes earlier today, and there is just so much value on the main slate that it would be nice to have Christian McCaffrey and Jackson Smith and Jigba to just go, all right, well, I'm going to play Bijan. I'm going to play those two, and let's mix and match all this ugly value in all the other spots in my lineup. But alas, we are going to have to get creative on Sunday. Today, though, guess what? You can just play Jackson Smith and Jigba and Christian McCaffrey in every lineup and mix and match the value. But we were going to go through the two-game slate. We will go position by position on both FanDuel and DraftKings for you guys. We'll cover them together, make sure we're hitting them both. And if you have any, we're not going to explicitly cover the Showdown stuff, but if you do have any questions, absolutely ask them for Showdown and we can get you covered there as well. And it's also a perfect time to try out some pick labs. I saw somebody in the YouTube chat saying they went wild with some props today. They need some shootouts in these games. If you want to find the best picks, you can do it with the newest Fantasy Lab feature that lets you scan the best player prop and pick them bets in seconds. Everything's broken down for you from edges and win rates to value. It's a clean board showing which plays actually stand out across sportsbooks and sites like Underdog and Prize Picks. And when you have something you like, Pick Labs builds the slip and sends it straight to the book of your choice. For a limited time, you can get access through a Fantasy Labs DFS subscription. Visit fantasylabs.com/pricing and use code FLEX20 for $20 off your first payment. You'll be wondering how this wasn't a thing already. Two games, Tim. Give me your overview. Which one of these are you more excited for? Which one of these are you targeting more? How do you plan on handling today's slate?
Yeah, so in terms of both real life and fantasy, I'm much more excited for the Seattle-San Francisco game. We've already talked about that game includes two of the best fantasy guys in all of football, both CMC and JSN. So, I mean, that's clearly, in my opinion, the better game. And I'm hoping that in terms of my DFS lineups as well, I currently have that game fully stacked. In my single entry, at least, I currently only have one skill position player from the Carolina Tampa Bay game, and that player is still kind of to be determined. I'm not even really sure who that player is going to be yet. So I'm really hoping that first game is a failure, and that the Seattle-San Francisco game goes off. So I mean this is really I'm really excited. Both teams playing for the number one seed in the NFC. Really excited to watch that game. But I mean, hey, this Carolina Tampa Bay game, while I don't like its chances as much as for a full-on shootout as the Seattle-San Francisco game, it's still going to be a really competitive game. Stakes are obviously extremely high. Both teams competing for that NFC South title. So winner go home here. It should be great. It should be a really great day of football.
Couldn't agree more. I am with you that I'm definitely heavier on the second game than the first. Not quite as heavy as you are, in my main lineup, I have 3 players in the second game. So where you have 1, I have 3, but I too am definitely looking to stack up that second game a lot more than the first one. I don't really like getting to some of these guys in the first game that I do have in my main lineup right now, but we'll see. Somebody's got to score some points in that one, right? As Nate and Chad is pointing out, 49ers Seahawks game was low scoring in week 1. Biggest difference in this one is the 49ers defense is trash now. They are not very good anymore. And so that I think will be the biggest catalyst. 49ers probably going to have to score, and I think the Seahawks will likely be not scoring at will, but I do think we'll have the easiest time putting points up on the board of these 4 teams tonight. Let's start going through position by position. We'll cover both FanDuel and DraftKings together. We were both kind of surprised at who the quarterback projecting for the highest ownership was on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we have it projected to split up 25%, 27%, 25%, 23%. So it's basically just going to be all these guys splitting a little quarter, and you can play whichever one you want, and you don't have to worry about ownership whatsoever. On DraftKings, we have it spread out a little bit more, but still fairly even. Both you and I were quite shocked to see Brock Purdy as the guy projecting for the highest ownership rate, because I think both of us kind of thought it was going to be the other quarterback in that game.
Yeah, I've just been hearing so much about Sam Darnold. We know he has those incentives as well. I think he goes for 3 TDs and 150 passing yards. He reaches an additional $1 million. So I've just been hearing so much about Sam Darnold that I was kind of expecting that gap to be a little bit closer, if not Darnold being the highest owned quarterback today. And I really wouldn't be surprised if that's what ends up being the case. One thing that you and I did agree on before the show was that we thought that, I do think this is true. I think Baker Mayfield's projected ownership is a little bit too high. We currently have him at 26. I would actually flip Bryce Young's and Baker's. I think Bryce Young is going to be the higher owned out of those two in that game, just because of that $800 price gap. And we know that the Buccaneers are not, they're kind of a hit or miss type defense. So I think Bryce Young is going to be a higher owned than Baker. I think Baker will end up being the lowest owned out of this group of 4 quarterbacks on the slate on DK. Yeah, FanDuel, it's a little bit different. I expect that pie to be split pretty evenly. I don't think there's going to be any kind of huge shocky quarterback. We currently have Darnold technically as the highest owned, and I think that's correct. And I think that's going to be. I think Darnold. It's really gonna be interesting to see where Darnold and Purdy kind of end up here in terms of ownership. I kind of think Darnold's going to get steamed here.
You know what I think the reason for it is people look at the receiving options and go, okay, well, I want to play McCaffrey. I want to play probably one of Jennings or Pearsall. I want to play Kittle. Only Seattle receiver I really need to play is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Okay, if I have 3 or 4 49ers and only 1 Seattle player, I guess I'll stack the quarterback instead with the 49ers because I have so many of them. That would be my guess as to why so many people are getting to, at least we're projecting a lot of people to get to Purdy, because there's not really anybody you need to stack Darnold with other than Jackson Smith and Jigma. Sure, you can get to Barner. Sure, you can get to Shaheed. Sure, you can get to Cup. But you don't need anyone else. At least half that production's going to JSN.
Yeah, I was just going to say, AJ Barner is going to be pretty popular. He's currently our 5th or 6th highest projected owned player. So AJ Barner is going to come with quite a bit of ownership. I think Cooper Kupp is going to be pretty highly owned as well. So Darnold does have pretty popular stacking partners. So yeah, the thing is, you don't need that $500 between Purdy and Darnold. FanDuel's pricing is so much tighter. DraftKings on these 2-game slates, I think, have just done such a horrible job here in terms of pricing. Whereas FanDuel, it took me quite a while to build one team on FanDuel that I really, really liked. And even then I didn't feel amazing about it. Whereas DraftKings, it's like it's so easy to make a team, even with CMC and JSN in it. It's like it's too easy to build. So I guess maybe that's the case for Purdy to end up higher owned, is that you really just don't need that $500.
I'm going heavy. I mean, we'll get to tight end when we get there. But there is one of the lower owned options that I'm going to be going quite heavy on at that position today. Let's pivot over to the running back spot where we talked about Christian McCaffrey, just very easy to get to on this slate. Even though it's a very tough matchup, it's just kind of a lock and load spot on a 2-game slate. How many lineups do you think you'd have to be getting to on either side before you did not play Christian McCaffrey in one?
I guess I'd all in a 20 max. Maybe if I was building 150, I might make 10 without him. Maybe. But even then, it's pretty close. And then I think if I were to fade him, maybe in those 5 or 10 lineups, I'd insert Brian Robinson because of the contingent upside that he has. Because if those CMC lineups fail, I have a feeling that really it's only because CMC got hurt. Or so maybe you insert Brian Robinson into those 5 or 10 teams because. I mean, obviously, you don't want to play for an injury, but those things do happen. Our old friend Squirrel Patrol won $1 million by playing a backup QB on a 2-game slate. So, our backup running back on a 2-game slate, and that's exactly what happened. There was an injury, and he shipped a contest. So, that's what I would do. But really, I wouldn't fault people if they wanted to just go all in on CMC.
I played 25 lineups, and I have him in 22. And so I'm going very heavy on him as well. I don't have him. I actually don't have Brian Robinson in any of the ones that I'm not playing him in. But I just those are the lineups that I went Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and just kind of took that as a slow-paced game that the Seahawks control, have the ball the whole time, using their running backs a ton. That's kind of how I went about it. But other than that, I agree with you. CMC is a pretty much lock and load play tonight. We see he's projecting for 82% ownership on DraftKings, barely above his optimal rate. His optimal rate is at 80%. So I'm looking at 22 of my 25 lineups with CMC today. Bucky Irving looking like the guy that's kind of the next one in, because you got Dowdle and Hubbard in pretty much a close to an even split timeshare. Dowdle getting a bit more of that work. Walker and Charbonnet depends on the day, but that's pretty much a 50-50. Irving, we know, is going to get more touches, but he often does get vultured at the goal line as well. What are your thoughts on Bucky Irving in this spot?
Yeah, Bucky definitely has the safest floor, I think, out of the rest of this running back group. Not crazy about his ceiling though, because like you said, he gets sniped by Sean Tucker and Rashad White. So it's kind of a tough thing. I will say on FanDuel, I would not be playing Bucky Irving like basically at all. He's $8,600, and you want touchdowns on FanDuel. I don't really love Bucky Irving today that much for a touchdown, so I don't see a world where you can play him. Lineup construction on FanDuel today is completely different than on DraftKings. It's like a completely different game over there. Like I said, it's much more difficult. But DraftKings, 6,100 for DraftKings for Bucky. It's okay play. I don't love the ceiling here. So like if you're playing cash games, I'm fine if you want to play Bucky. I'm just not crazy about his ceiling here. My preferred pivot, the person that I have right now is Zach Charbonnet at 5,600. He's obviously in that split with Kenneth Walker, but it seems like Charbonnet is really getting the more high value touches. So I'm going to be pivoting to Charbonnet, and he looks like he's going to be around half the ownership as Bucky Irving. So if that holds, I'm really I'm liking that play in tournaments.
I like it. No problem with that whatsoever. I think Charbonnet is probably my next favorite guy. How would you rank Walker, Dowdle, and Hubbard?
That's really, really tough for me. I think I would take the savings with Hubbard. And because I really am rooting for Charbonnet today, I'm kind of hoping that Kenneth Walker fails, or at least does not, take any of the touchdowns from Charbonnet. So yeah, I think I'd go the savings with Hubbard, followed by Daddle, and then Walker. I think if you're playing the largest field stuff, you can take small um, shots on maybe a Rashad White or a Sean Tucker, but those would just be really, really just small sprinkle plays for me.
Tucker is a guy that I do like for the really large field stuff. I think he should be projecting on a 2-game slate for a little bit more than the 2-ish% that we got him for right now, considering he is the main goal line back there. And so Tucker is a guy that I do want to jam in a fair amount of lineups. I'm kind of looking at it like, who do I like better as we transition to the wide receiver position, McMillan or Tucker? Because for some reason, they've and I guess not. I mean, for some reason I say, but Jalen McMillan's actually looked really good. He seems to have kind of leapfrogged Emeka Egbuka on the depth chart now that he's healthy. And so McMillan at 4,200 is a receiver that I like quite a bit on this slate. Jackson Smith-Njigba is just pretty much a lock for me. Like, he's got a great matchup. It's a weak 49ers defense, and they want to win. They want to, help them set some records or whatever it is. I'm really big on Jackson Smith-Njigba tonight, and the field is as well. But if I'm picking one, JSN or McCaffrey, I think I would actually rather go JSN of those two.
Really?
What are your thoughts on Jackson Smith-Njigba? And then who is your second tier? Because after him, it's pretty much wide open.
It's very wide open after JSN. Like, if I had to pick between JSN and CMC, I would take CMC. Are you making any teams without either one of them, fading both of them, TJ?
No, I actually don't think I have any teams without JSN.
Oh, but you did a lot button on JSN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even on purpose. Like, I hand built on all 25 of my lineups. I hand built them today, but I just landed on him. And I have one lineup without Jackson Smith-Njigba, and it's a Brock Purdy stack that is playing both Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I would prefer going CMC over JSN if I had to pick one, but ideally you're going to be playing both. And then tier 2 in wide receiver today, super kind of wide open, like you said, very interesting. I do think that the next guy really would be Tet McMillan at 5,800. That price just seems a little bit too low for him. They're going to be leaning on him heavily. So I do think that Tet McMillan would be my next wide receiver in. It sounds like Pearsall is going to be playing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I like Pearsall over Juwan Jennings. I know that Jennings is projected a little bit better. I would prefer saving the 500 and going to Pearsall. And then I think it's Chris Godwin at 5,300. He's been playing pretty well. That price tag seems a little low for him. I'm a little bit, I don't know. Mike Evans just doesn't seem amazing right now. So I'd rather take the savings and go to Godwin. So that's kind of how I'd rank that kind of next year. I'd go Tet, Pearsall, Godwin. That's how I'd rank that. And then I really do like Jalen McMillan today at 4,200. The problem is he's kind of in that tier with Jalen Coker, who's a really strong play as well. Rashid Shaheed, I think, is a really strong play. So those three guys in that mid-4 range are all pretty strong today. And I think that getting to one of those three guys, whether it be in cash or single entry, is something that I would advise doing. I know that optimizers are really wanting you to play Cooper Kupp, but if you can find that extra money, that $700 or $800 in that wide receiver 3 spot, I kind of like that today rather than going to Cooper Kupp. So, Cooper Kupp can be that fall guy if you need somebody under 4K, but I'd almost rather see people kind of go over that 4K price point today, just because I think Cup is going to get pretty steamed.
I like it. No problem with doing that either. I'm quite light on Cup. Pearsall, Evans, Godwin are probably my next group. Went in my Darnold teams, and then Tet I'm trying to limit mostly to my Bryce Young teams. I'm playing a lot of Bryce Young tonight. Darnold is my number one, Bryce Young too, and then I'm just sprinkling in a little bit of Purdy and Baker, but Young and Darnold are my two main guys, and so I'm mostly just playing Tet on my Young teams because I feel like if he gets there, he has a touchdown and the yardage. I feel like Bryce Young's probably getting there too. And so doing a lot of pairing those two together, rank the, and I know you mostly just went through it, but if you don't mind, rank specifically the Tampa Bay 4 wide receivers for me.
Godwin would be number 1. Jalen McMillan would be 2. Then Mike Evans. Then Emeka Egbuka. Who would have thought in week 1 that,
Right?
after week 1, that we'd be playing Chris Godwin over Emeka Egbuka?
I know. Definitely didn't expect it on my end either. Godwin maybe. Godwin maybe. I just was like, I was sitting and waiting for Mike Evans to be back for Godwin to start performing because Chris Godwin is a really, really good slot receiver. He's not very good anywhere else. He's tall, he's big, he's strong. He does a really good job as a slot receiver. And when he is out wide, he doesn't really perform. And so as soon as Evans got back and they didn't have to have Tez Johnson or Sterling Shepard on the field, who both of them can only play out of the slot, I figured that was going to be good news for Godwin because now he's back in the spot that he eats in. But the biggest surprise for me was the Jalen McMillan over Egbuka. Because I really thought I assumed when everybody would be healthy, it would be Evans, Godwin, and Egbuka. But McMillan out snapping him 2 games in a row was pretty surprising. Ethan Pasternak in chat asking, what are your thoughts on Jimmy Horn Jr.?
He's a really interesting play at the Stone Min. I think that he can definitely go be a part of like a Bryce double or even like a Bryce triple. Obviously, super boomer bust. I think he's okay though. Like if you want to get, he's projected for 2%. If you wanted to play him, I say go for it. If you want to take that chance and maybe he can catch that 1 or 2 balls and have him beat Cooper Kupp or one of these other guys that are in the 3K range, I think it's okay.
Agreed on that one. I don't have any of him personally, but I have no issue with playing him. I like those tight ends for Carolina a little bit better than I like Horn today, and that brings us to the tight end position where
can we just there's just one question from Don Easy in chat.
Let's rank the 4K guys.
Let's rank the 4K receivers really quick. So projections are going to be giving you Coker in that 4K range. I'm personally going to go Jalen McMillan as my favorite, followed by Coker, then Rashid Shaheed. That would be how I would rank them. So Coker is definitely the one that's projected the best, but I think on my single entry team, I'm going to be going McMillan.
That's how I'd rank it too. McMillan 1, Coker 2, Shaheed 3. All of them in play though. I think all of them are very much in play. I have a couple lineups, I'm not with the intent of double dipping, but it just worked out perfectly with both Shaheed and the Seahawks defense. So if he wants to run one back for a touchdown tonight, I would not argue with that whatsoever. Let's switch over to the tight end position where on both sites, if you play anybody other than George Kittle or AJ Barner, you're going to be very different. Kittle, obviously, when I can get there, and especially on FanDuel where he's not that much more expensive than Barner, I want to get to him as much as possible. On DraftKings, it's a little tougher, but I do think I like him better than Mike Evans and Tet McMillan, both in that same price range. And so I'm going to be quite heavy on Kittle. Barner's somebody I'm going to be a little lighter on. I'm actually looking to pivot to these Carolina tight ends, mostly Tommy Tremble, but a little bit of Mitchell Evans too.
Yeah, I think you have to get some exposure to these Carolina tight ends just because of the salary saving that it gives you. So, yeah, so I have no issue with that. I think Mitchell Evans is completely fine. I do prefer Tremble though in a vacuum. I think that they're both interesting pivots off of AJ Barner could easily fail here. Like I'm not this like huge fan of AJ Barner, despite the fact that he's coming off of two games where he's scored like 15 and 13 fantasy points. But before that, his game logs were not amazing. So he could definitely put up a 0 here. So I think pivoting to these Carolina guys is super intriguing in GPPs. I'm not currently doing it. The one way that I am going to be kind of chalky today is I am going to just play the double tight end Barner Kittle pairing that we're seeing a ton of, just because I'm building so heavily into that game. And I'm just trying to find other ways to get different so that my lineup isn't duped in single entry. And I think if you're playing cash today, you're playing Kittle Barner.
Agreed with that one completely. But then in the tournament pivots, I am a big fan of looking at those Carolina guys today. 100% with you, though. Tremble, the first choice. Then in some of my larger field stuff, I am going to Mitchell Evans. Defense, play whoever you want. My favorite is the Seahawks on both sides. With the Panthers probably being my second choice. How about you?
I am playing one of these two defenses from the Carolina Tampa Bay game. I'm not exactly sure which one yet. I'm leaning Buccaneers, but I'm just hoping that this first game is pretty much a bust and that the second game goes completely off. So my favorite defense is the Buccaneers.
All right, let's start taking some questions here. Going to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat for questions first. Going to the YouTube chat for questions second. Do you think Horn is a legit GPP play, or am I going too deep? Large field. We briefly touched on it. Neither of us are getting there, but like it's 2-game slate. You can do it.
It is not too much of a stretch to play him. I think it's completely fine to play him on this 2-game slate. He's one of those separators that you could conceivably need in one of these like flagship type contests, that $20 or $25, whatever that buy-in is today. They've got 2 of them today. I think one's 250K up top, the other one's 100K up top. So I think he's fine.
I do as well. What do you think about Sean Tucker in single entry?
It's pretty ambitious. I'm not crazy about it, but that's like a true three running back situation. I don't really love it.
I kind of do. I'm in. I'm in for a little bit of Sean Tucker this week. I don't mind it one bit. Next question in the Discord. Would you only play Evans with Young, or can you use him solo if you need the salary? DK or GPP large field. I think you could do Mitchell Evans without Bryce Young. I don't think that's any problem. Say Bryce Young throws 1 touchdown and it's to Mitchell Evans. Evans is so cheap, you probably want him, but I don't think you'd need Bryce Young in that scenario. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what you just said. I don't think you have to do that.
All right, we got your guy, Broccoli Boy, in chat. He started the show off with a compliment to us. He said, what, are these the only 2 guys that work around here or what? And now he is had enough. He's annoyed with us. He says, he asked once, but we hadn't got to questions yet. He wants us to pick the game winners. And now he says, please get to the game winners. Hurry your asses up. Who do you got to win each of these 2 games tonight?
I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I don't know if Broccoli wants spreads or just money lines, but I'm going to go Bucks and I'm going to go Niners.
I'm going to go Bucks and Niners as well. Actually, that is how I was leaning. DK, GPP, do you think it's going to be more popular to do Barner or Cup at the flex?
Well, let me check lineup HQ really quick. Let's see what projection ownership says. It looks like Barner by quite a bit is going to be more popular than Cup.
Favorite showdown contrarian MVP on FanDuel for both of these games. Second game, Nobody's going to be picking anybody other than Jackson Smith and Jigba or Christian McCaffrey. And if you want to extend that a little bit further, Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. We are currently looking at let me see, hold on, 55, 70, about 80% of the projected ownership, 82% of the projected ownership in that second game going to McCaffrey, JSN, Purdy, Darnold MVPs. I think the one other, or potentially three other ones that could get there, more than that, really, actually. I could see Kittle getting there. I could see Jennings or Pearsall getting there. And Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, I also think could potentially be the leading scorers in that game. So anybody other than the two quarterbacks, JSN or McCaffrey in that second game, if you are looking to get different within that main four, Darnold would probably be my first choice to do it with. And in the first game, as I pivot to the first game and look at some ownership, what are your thoughts on kind of that breakdown? Who would be your top contrarian MVP for the second game?
Yeah, top contrarian MVP for the second game. I think it would be, I guess Sam Darnold, who's getting like 10% ownership of the MVP. I think he would be it's Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy, because CMC, like you said, CMC and JSN are going to eat up so much of that MVP ownership, especially CMC, especially like in higher dollar stuff. So I think if you just pivot to one of the quarterbacks, I can see a world where maybe George Kittle can get there. I don't love the running backs for Seattle as MVPs. I can totally see playing Charbonnet and flex. But I think it's really, it's probably Darnold for me.
First game, we're projecting over 70% projected ownership combined for Baker Mayfield and Bryce Young. So anybody other than those two is going to be pretty contrarian. Bucky Irving's projected for 10. Nobody else is above that. I think Rico Dowdle is very interesting as a very low-owned MVP option, as are Evans or Godwin. But I don't even think it's crazy on FanDuel because there are a lot of guys in this game that you want to spend up for. I don't think there's anything wrong with going cheap and rolling out Jalen McMillan in your captain spot in this one, or heck, even Sean Tucker at 5,200 in a large field setting, so that you can load up on Baker and Young and Irving and Evans and McMillan and all these expensive options. Basically anybody other than Mayfield or Young. Who's your top contrarian FanDuel MVP for that first game?
I think it's got to be Ted McMillan at 14.7, 5% MVP ownership. Let me double check actually. Yeah, 5% MVP ownership. So Ted McMillan would be my favorite contrarian MVP for that first game. I don't mind. I just think Bucky Irving's too expensive. So if you don't want to play the two QBs, I think it's really got to be Tet for me.
Is Bryce Young acceptable in a DK cash setting?
He is, yeah. I think he might even be in our first optimal right now. So I think that might be the most advisable choice. I still think that for me, it's going to be Brock Purdy.
Is Tonjes in play? No, he is not. Anybody's in play on a 2-game slate, but he is one of the least likely guys to succeed. He is kind of a only when Kittle is out kind of thing. Flex position, Cooper Kupp or Barner?
It's super tough. I guess it's Barner.
2 tight end day in cash. Absolutely. It's looking like a Barner and Kittle day.
It's even a 2 tight end cash week on FanDuel, which is pretty rare. But that's just the pricing is so much tighter over there. So even if you're doing that, even if you're playing cash on FanDuel, it's still 2 tight end.
Really good question from G Darnell, where he says, if you want the first game to bust, wouldn't you want one of those defenses? And I was in theory kind of contradictory because I said I want to load up on the second game, but also the Seahawks are my favorite defense. Reason for that is because I think the quarterback most likely to throw a bunch of picks tonight is Brock Purdy. Seattle's defense is just so good. and I think they're the most likely to cause turnovers. I also think that will be a faster paced game with more throwing. And so I think there's going to be more points scored in the second game, but I think there's also more potential for turnovers and big plays in that second game as well. And so I'm kind of searching for ceiling at that defense position. And that's my thought process with the Seahawks is, yes, I think their floor is certainly a lot lower than the Bucks or Panthers because I think the 49ers will score more points than those teams. But I think the ceiling is going to be higher as well with the potential for some interceptions and some big plays. Last spot, you want George Kittle or Juwan Jennings?
In a vacuum, you want Kittle, but I could see a world where Jennings might be an interesting late swap option in that flex spot. So but really straight up it's Kittle.
How do we feel about Cade Otton today?
I don't really like him. I'd rather just go to the chalkier Barner or go down to the cheapo Carolina guys.
All right. Straight up, Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet?
Charbonnet for me today.
Me too. Charbonnet is the one I prefer. I am getting to a decent amount of both of them, but Charbonnet is the one I prefer of the two of them. Any Roth update for Rain in the first game? Nothing new on the site recently, but keep an eye on Twitter for that one. But I don't think we're going to be worried too much about that one. DK large field. Do you want Darnold and Jennings or Purdy and Pearsall?
Go the correlation and go Purdy Pearsall.
Agreed on that one. Hey guys, second game of the championship, down by 5 points. First part of your question. It wasn't actually in the question, but I'm going to say it anyways. Get week 18 out of your championship. But to answer your question, he says he needs 2 running backs. Pick 4. You ready? Pick 4. Chase Brown, Trevion Henderson, Bucky Irving, Jordan Mason, Jaden Blue, George Pickens, Stephon Diggs, Ted McMillan, Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington.
Pick how many?
4. I'd say 4. Chase Brown for sure.
Yep.
So then we need to pick 3. I kind of feel like I'll put this on the screen so you can see it too. Trevion.
And there's Gibbs too, right?
No, Diggs, not Gibbs.
Oh.
I think I would probably go Chase Brown, the 2 Patriots, and maybe Jordan Mason.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet Jordan
Mason, Bucky, or Tet, but I kind of like Mason.
I don't really like Bucky. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
We can eliminate Bucky. Would you go Jordan Mason or Tet?
I guess if it's full PPR, I'd go Tet.
Good point. Very good point. Cash today, Dowdle and Coker or Hubbard and McMillan on Yahoo. I feel like I would go Hubbard and McMillan there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Did Tides win the RotoGrinders season-long league?
I did, and I won the season-long home league. So I won the RG one and my home league, both season-longs.
0 season-long championships before this year, and you take 2 down in 1 year.
I took 2 down, yep. Yeah, thank you.
Jiggy Vibe says he's live in Tampa right now. It's light raining now, nothing major. What do you think about kickers for the showdown slate in the late game?
I don't love them. I'm obviously kickers always have a pretty safe floor. I think that game is going to shoot out, so I don't necessarily love the kickers here.
All right. Ethan Pasternak wants to know, what are the plums today? What's the feel in your plums play of the day? Who's breaking the slate?
I'm going to go with Zach Charbonnet. I'm going to give him another 2 rushing TDs. I'm hoping, maybe he doesn't quite get to 100 yards, but I'm hoping that he can exceed 20 fantasy points. So I'm going to go Zach Charbonnet goes over 20 fantasy points.
I will go on the same side of the field and say Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is the player I'm most overweight to the field on. I have a ton of McCaffrey and JSN, of course, but so does everybody. And I'm going very heavily overweight on Sam Darnold. So he is the one I'm going with today. Marie Donizi saying, why was I not invited to this season-long league? My man, I'm not in the RotoGrinders season-long league, so I don't think that invite's coming anytime soon. That one's been pretty tight for a long time. I'm not even in that one. That part thinks Coker is going to smash. Real Broccoli Boy is talking about cooking up a nice beef stew, but no, as to answer J3's question, I'm having pizza for dinner tonight. I got Costco pizza. My wife went to Costco while I was during shows today. She brought home one of their freshly made pizza, and so that is what I'm going with tonight for supper. Yaz Army, I'm sprinkling in some Walker for a 20 max in GPP. Don't you think he has higher upside than Charbonnet? Theoretically, yes, but it's also a 2-game slate, and I just want the one who scores more points, and I think that's going to be Charbonnet today.
Yeah, I agree.
In theory, yes, Walker is the guy more likely to break off a 50-yard run, but I just think the likelihood of it being Charbonnet today is a little bit higher. 2 more people typing in chat, so I don't want to kick us out of here, but get your questions in quick. We got about a minute and a half till lock, and that'll do it for today's show. Thank you so much.
Thoughts on using Ward, Tremble, and Tet all together?
Ward.
I don't know who Ward is. Horn. Okay, so
Horn.
Ethan is
Horn,
talking
Tremble,
about
and Tet all together. Only if Bryce Young is my quarterback.
I was gonna say, you gotta include Bryce Young and make that a triple. I think that's okay. If as long as that's a Bryce Young triple, I think that's fine.
Allen's Club asking Seahawks or Buccaneers defense for single entry on DraftKings. I like Seahawks. You like Buccaneers.
I'm going Buccaneers, but defense is so hard to predict.
It is super random, but if you trust him more, if you like Tim more, go with Buccaneers. If you like me more, go with the Seahawks. That'll do it for today's show on the 2-game slate. We will be back at 6:30 Eastern for our NBA breakdown, and then of course we have our full show block tomorrow for Sunday. Tim, Dean, and Bobby will be there bright and early, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time for Grinders Live, followed by the GPP Final Takes crew, and then I will take you up to lock at crunch time. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next time. On behalf of myself and Tim, peace.